What up, African world? It's Home Team here, and I'm back at it with another video of African history, culture, and worldview. And welcome back to my series, A Closer Look. Today, we're going to take a closer look at the Zulu people of South Africa. And as always, if you want to support the home team, you can do so on patreon.com. I have some new rewards for you guys, so be sure to check that out. Also, go to Afrographics.com, a website where you can find unique illustrative infographics summarizing African history. All links to Patreon, Afrographics, and home team merchandise are in the description box below. Before we speak about the Zulu, it's important to understand the larger group they descend from, the Nguni people. The Nguni people are a group of Bantu people in southern Africa who speak the Nguni languages. The Nguni encompass several groups such as the Xhosa, which you're supposed to say with a click, the Ndebele, the Swazi, and of course the most popular, the Zulu. The Nguni people are said to have migrated from the Great Lakes region from the north, and various groups split from there, creating the groups we know today. So who are the Zulu and how did they come to be? In the Zulu language, the word Amazulu means Zulu people, and according to Zulu oral tradition, this name refers to the belief that the Zulu came down from heaven, as the word Zulu itself means heaven. The Amazulu name for the supreme being and creator is Unkulunkulu. He has other names such as Mvele Nkungi, which basically means he who came first or ancient one. Mvele Nkungi lowered his two children, a man and a woman, down from heaven attached to an umbilical cord. On earth, they cut themselves free with a sharp reed. This is how the Amazulu came to be named after heaven. This is also why some members of the Amazulu royal family are referred to as Ambantwana, or children, because they are all descended from Mvele Nkungi's children. Another popular creation story states that human beings emerged from deep in the earth through a moist bed of reeds. Reeds are a common theme in southern African creation myths. The Amazulu mythology concerning their origin is unique because they are the only Africans I know of that state they originated in heaven. The very name Zulu, once again, meaning heaven, giving the Amazulu a divine, untouchable tone. I personally find this interesting because this sort of aura is something the Amazulu definitely projected in the world, their name becoming immortal amongst all human societies. In other words, the Amazulu lived up to their name. The Amazulu played a major role in the history of southern Africa for the last 200 years. The Amazulu developed a distinct language well before they forged a collective identity or a centralized political structure. They rose to power under their leader Shaka in the 19th century. But not long after Shaka became their leader in 1815, the Zulu began a campaign of conquest and expansion known as the Mfecane, which led to the incorporation of many other peoples. A brilliant military leader, Shaka soon built an army of more than 40,000 rigorously trained soldiers. Shaka also introduced several important military innovations, such as the short stabbing spear, which gave Zulu troops a distinct advantage over their adversaries. In a period of only 10 years, Shaka had built a kingdom, Zululand, that encompassed most of the area known as the Natal Province. Shaka claimed absolute authority over his kingdom. His hierarchical leadership style was retained by subsequent Zulu rulers and later adopted by Inkatha, a 20th century Zulu political organization. In conquered territories, Shaka appointed his own officials. Any subjects who refused Shaka's rule could be killed immediately. In addition, conquered peoples were expected to serve in the Zulu army, herd the king's cattle, and hunt elephants for ivory. Shaka consolidated his authority by conducting frequent cattle raids on neighboring groups, such as the Mpondo. A portion of the cattle was distributed to Shaka's chiefs and army officers to encourage their loyalty. Despite these tactics, however, Shaka faced internal opposition, and in 1828 he was assassinated by his half-brother Dingane. Although the Zulu lost land to the Afrikaners during the mid-19th century, they did not fall under European colonial rule until 1883 when Zululand was invaded by British troops. The Zulu are among the most skilled craftspeople in southern Africa, specifically in beadwork and basket weaving. Zulu pottery includes containers of many different shapes. Still made today, these pots are shaped by hand from wet clay, decorated with engraved designs, and then baked in homemade ovens. Zulu gourds are popular with collectors today. They were used to hold finely ground tobacco called snuff or other substances. Many are decorated with metal wire, beads, or designs engraved into the surface. The beer gourd called okamba is still widely used. Zulu women continue to use wild grasses to weave baskets, food containers, and mats. The grass is often colored with natural dyes and woven into beautiful designs. Many of these traditional handcrafted arts are now mass-produced in factories and sold all over the world. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to help out in this continued production, you can do so on patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. Know thyself. Remember your ancestors. Peace.